There's been no noticeable progress at all between the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Remember, they can't tag him. They can't trade him. Dak right now is scheduled to head into the last year of his contract. Everybody's in the last year of their contract in Dallas.
Look, Dak's got the leverage.
The Cowboys have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And while anyone who isn't a Cowboys fan does get tired of all the antics around this team, like staged overreaction videos, or overplayed 90s quotes.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Or cokeheads who sexually harass hotel staff, or racist owners, or annoying television hosts that can easily be disputed, or Troy Aikman.
Come on, Daddy.
What was my point again? Oh, right. While all of those things might be annoying to most of us, as an objective football fan, you have to admit the Cowboys had a strong team in the regular season last year. They wound up winning their division. They were the number 2 seed. They've been a top 10 defense in the last few years. CeeDee Lamb has really come into his own in the last couple of seasons. Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the league. DeMarcus Lawrence is nothing to scoff at. Dak Prescott has really only had like one bad season. So you have to at least respect the Cowboys, even if you can't stand their fans. What's amazing though is how effectively they're working to throw all of that away. They're in a situation right now where it's looking like they're going to let Dak Prescott play out the last year of his contract, and then he could walk. And it's not like they can use the franchise tag on him. He's already been tagged twice, and a third tag is 120% of the average of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, which would be 51.32 times 1.20. Oh, that's easy to do in my head. That's $61.58 million. Yeah, there's no way that you want to do $61.58 million for the guy. The way the third tag works is that it's either 120% of the average of the top 5 players in your position, or it's 144% of the player's salary from the last season, or it's the average of the top 5 salaries for the highest paid position in the league, which happens to be quarterback anyways. It's whichever one of those 3 options makes the most money. So in Dak's case, it's 120% of the average of the top 5 QBs, which is $61.58 million. If you're the Cowboys, I don't really see why you would do that, because all you're doing at that point is prolonging the inevitable. He's just going to walk in 2026. And now you'd be putting yourself in a position where you don't even have the option to trade him, because any team you trade him to, if negotiations fall apart with Dak on a long-term deal, now they're on the hook for $61.5 million for one season. So what can the Cowboys do with Dak? Well, first and foremost, they should give him a new contract. It's hard to find a franchise quarterback, and they've got one. Unless they really do believe that Trey Lance is the future, and if that's the case, they should trade Dak. All right, now Dak Prescott does have a no-trade clause, but that doesn't mean he can't be traded. It just means that he has to sign off on whoever he gets traded to. Remember, Russell Wilson had a no-trade clause, but he still got traded because he signed off on the trade. Who should they trade Dak to? I came up with 4 teams. Number 4, the Miami Dolphins. The fact that they haven't figured out a deal with Tua yet is pretty telling for the situation they're in. Tua and his agent believe he's worth more than the Dolphins do. So while Tua's looking for top 5 money, the team is probably saying he's worth top 10. And even then, they're probably concerned about injuries. This is a guy who's one bad hit away from a doctor never clearing him to play again. After all, Tua suffered 3 concussions in 2022 alone. Meanwhile, Dak has had a pretty healthy career. The Dolphins might be willing to pay Dak more than they'd be willing to pay Tua. I'm thinking it's going to cost multiple first rounds and a second. Maybe if the Cowboys are interested in Tua, then they can get Tua in lieu of that second. That might be a little too rich for Miami. After all, the Dolphins could wait and see what they have in Tua for one more year, and reasonably, they have 2 tags after that they could use as well. So that's why I put the Dolphins as the 4th best option. Number 3 is the Indianapolis Colts. I know they got Anthony Richardson, but I don't see how you could possibly say that Dak Prescott isn't an upgrade from Anthony Richardson based on what we saw last year, albeit in a limited sample size. So maybe the trade is Anthony Richardson and a second for Prescott. That's probably not enough. but the Colts did just spend a first on Richardson, so you kind of figure they don't want to part with another first to bring a quarterback in. The Cowboys are probably going to demand multiple firsts, so it's probably too rich for the Colts. For the Cowboys, there is an advantage to bringing Richardson in, though. They could have a quarterback competition between Lance and Richardson, or maybe they view Richardson as a gadget guy and Lance is still the starting quarterback. Either way, it's hard to see how this trade works out exactly, but both sides do potentially benefit from a trade. Number 2, I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders. You can't tell me that Gardner Minshew is the plan for franchise quarterback. If you can get Dak, it probably costs 2 firsts and a good player. So does that mean 2 firsts and Max Crosby? Does that mean 2 firsts and Devontae Adams? I don't know, but that's probably the cost. If not, it's probably 2 firsts and a second. And that brings us to the most likely trading partner, the best trading partner in this scenario, which would be the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's the same price for the Vikings as the Raiders. I think it's 2 picks plus a player, 2 first-round picks plus a player. But since the Vikings probably aren't going to be able to get a deal done with Justin Jefferson, he's all but publicly said that he's not interested in doing a deal with them. Maybe what makes the most sense for the Vikings would be to trade Jefferson to the Cowboys, send a couple of picks their way too. The Vikings do have 2 first-round picks this year. And in return, they could get Dak Prescott, which means they don't have to go into the draft because, let's face it, you never really know what you're getting out of a quarterback in the draft. Some quarterbacks you get in the draft are the next Dak Prescott. They are the next Russell Wilson. They are the next franchise quarterback of your team. Other times you walk out of a draft with Jamarcus Russell. So I'm thinking the Vikings make the most sense for a trade partner. Now, if the Cowboys do move on from Dak, then it frees them to start negotiating with some of the other key pieces that are set to become free agents in the next couple of seasons, like Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. By the way, the head coach of the Cowboys is also set to become a free agent after the 2024 season. If the Cowboys have a bad year, that could be a good thing because you get to take out your garbage for free. But there's another possibility. Let's say the Cowboys continue to do nothing this offseason. They let Mike McCarthy coach through the last year of his deal. They let Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb play through the last year of their contracts. They let DeMarcus Lawrence play through the last year of his contract. And then what if the Cowboys have a great season? Maybe they get the number 1 seed, they go deep into the playoffs, NFC Championship, maybe even Super Bowl. But then, because they screwed up the 2024 offseason so bad, they could lose everybody in 2025. Mike McCarthy could walk away commanding a high paycheck. Dak Prescott can walk away with nothing you can do about it. CeeDee Lamb can walk away if you don't franchise tag him. DeMarcus Lawrence can walk away if you don't franchise tag him. And the only good news is that frees up money to sign Micah Parsons. Let's say the Cowboys manage to let McCarthy, Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb all walk away in 2025. And then let's say that the Giants fire Brian Daboll, which is highly likely. They cut Daniel Jones, which is even more likely. And then the Giants hire Mike McCarthy, they sign Dak Prescott, and they sign CeeDee Lamb. Now you've got to play the offense that you built. You got to play him twice a year. At least if you trade away Dak, then you got something in return for him. Plus, you can control him a little bit because you get to pick his next location so you can keep him out of the NFC East. In summary, the Cowboys should first and foremost sign Dak Prescott and then figure everyone else out. But if they're not going to sign Dak, they should trade him outside of the division to a place that's going to give him a new long-term deal right away. Thanks for watching Mike Adams Football. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any unfiltered takes on the NFL this offseason.